What if the pain in your lower back is not a warning sign of aging, but a message your body has been trying to send for a long time? For many people over 50, discomfort becomes so common that it fades into the background of daily life. Morning stiffness, soreness after sitting, hesitation when standing up all get labeled as normal, something to tolerate, something to work around. But pain is rarely random, and it is almost never meaningless. It is communication. Your body has been adapting to how you move, sit, work, and rest for decades. Long hours in chairs, repeated habits, small compensations, and moments where movement was avoided rather than explored all leave a trace. The spine responds by adjusting. At first, those adjustments are helpful. They create stability and protection. Over time, though, protection can turn into restriction. Muscles tighten, joints lose motion, the nervous system becomes cautious. Pain is not punishment for getting older. It is the nervous system saying something no longer feels safe. That sharp pinch when you straighten up, the stiffness when you bend to put on socks, the dull ache that lingers after sitting a little too long are not signs that your back is worn out. They are signs that your body has learned patterns that no longer serve you. These patterns can feel permanent, but they are not fixed. The body is adaptable at every age. What it needs is the right input. Not force, not intensity, just clear, consistent signals that movement is safe again. Many people try to stretch their way out of pain or rest indefinitely, hoping discomfort will fade on its own. But avoiding movement often reinforces the very patterns that created the problem. The spine becomes guarded. Muscles do more work than they should. Joints do less. Over time, the brain associates certain positions with danger and responds with stiffness or pain before any real harm occurs. This is why pain can feel unpredictable and frustrating. It is not always about damage. It is about perception and protection. The movements you are about to learn are designed to interrupt that cycle. They are not random exercises or aggressive stretches. They are intentional, science-informed ways to restore communication between your joints, muscles, and nervous system. Instead of forcing flexibility, they invite motion. Instead of chasing exhaustion, they build control. Often people notice a shift quickly, not because something was fixed, but because something was allowed to move again without fear. This approach changes the conversation you have with your body. Pain stops being something to fight and becomes something to listen to. When you respond with the right movement, the body responds back. Relief becomes possible not through pushing harder, but through moving smarter. This is not about turning back the clock. It is about reminding your body that it still knows how to move, adapt, and feel safe again. Lower back pain after 50 is often treated as a muscle problem, but that assumption sends many people down the wrong path. When discomfort becomes constant, the focus usually turns to tight hamstrings, weak abs, or sore lower back muscles. While those areas can feel tense and tender, they are rarely the root cause. In many cases, they are reacting to something deeper that has been quietly developing for years. At the base of the spine, where the spine connects to the pelvis, sits a joint that carries enormous responsibility. Every step you take, every time you sit down, every bend forward or reach overhead sends force through this area. Its job is to transfer loads smoothly between the upper and lower body. When it moves well, you barely notice it. When it does not, the rest of the body begins to compensate. Over time, common habits can slowly change how this joint functions. Prolonged sitting, slouched posture, working from couches or beds, and favoring one side of the body all create uneven pressure. Instead of moving freely, the joint begins to settle into one position. The brain senses this lack of motion and responds by tightening surrounding muscles to create stability. What starts as protection gradually becomes stiffness and pain. This is why stretching alone often fails. You can loosen muscles temporarily, but if the joint underneath remains restricted, the body quickly returns to its guarded state. Pain fades for a while, then comes back. This cycle convinces many people that nothing really works, when in reality the wrong area is being addressed. The body is not broken. It is just responding logically to a lack of movement where movement is needed most. The nervous system plays a major role here. When a joint stops moving well, the brain increases sensitivity in the area. Pain signals act like an alarm, not because damage is occurring, but because the system wants to limit further stress. This is why scans often show little correlation with pain levels. The issue is not always structural damage. It is altered movement and heightened protection. The solution is not to ignore pain or push through it. It is to restore controlled motion and stability at the source. When the brain senses that a joint can move smoothly again, it reduces the need for constant muscle tension. Pain often decreases as a result. This process is not about forcing alignment or cracking joints. It is about teaching the body that it can trust movement again. The movements you are learning target this exact problem. They bring motion back to a joint that has been stuck and reconnect it with the muscles designed to support it. As this connection improves, compensations fade. The back no longer has to work overtime to feel stable. Instead, movement becomes more efficient and less threatening. When the right area starts doing its job again, the rest of the body finally gets a chance to relax. The first two movements focus on something most people have been taught to avoid once pain appears: gentle motion through the spine. When discomfort shows up, the instinct is to brace, protect, and limit movement as much as possible. That reaction feels logical, but over time it often makes the problem worse. The spine becomes stiff not because it is weak, but because it has learned that stillness feels safer than movement. These movements are designed to change that message. The extension-based movement introduces your spine to a position it has likely been missing for years. Long hours of sitting encourage a rounded posture that compresses the lower segments of the spine. When this position becomes the default, the body adapts by tightening tissues and limiting extension. Gently reversing that pattern allows pressure to ease and motion to return. This is not about pushing into discomfort. It is about exploring a small, controlled range where the body can relax again. Many people feel a subtle sense of relief within seconds, not because anything was forced, but because the joint is no longer trapped in one position. The rotational movement works in a different but equally important way. Side-to-side motion is a fundamental part of a healthy spine, yet it is often lost with age and routine. Daily life becomes very linear. We sit, stand, and walk mostly forward and backward. Rotation fades, and with it the spine's ability to distribute load evenly. This gentle rocking motion reintroduces rotation without threat. The rhythm matters. Slow, relaxed movement sends calming input to the nervous system, signaling that the spine is not in danger. What makes these movements powerful is not how far you move, but how safely you move. The joints of the spine are rich in sensors that report motion and position to the brain. When those sensors detect smooth, controlled movement, they reduce protective muscle tension and dampen pain signals. This is why forcing a stretch often backfires, while gentle motion can feel surprisingly effective. The nervous system responds to quality, not intensity. As the spine begins to move again, something important shifts. The body stops bracing for every small change in position. Getting out of a chair feels easier. Rolling over in bed becomes less guarded. Morning stiffness begins to fade more quickly. These changes are often subtle at first, but they build. The baseline of how your back feels throughout the day starts to improve. Perhaps the most meaningful change is psychological. Fear of movement is a powerful contributor to chronic pain. When these movements show you that motion can feel safe again, confidence returns. That confidence encourages more natural movement throughout the day, which reinforces the progress you have made. The spine thrives on variability and gentle challenge. When you provide both, it responds by becoming more adaptable and less reactive. These movements are not meant to exhaust you or push your limits. They are meant to restore trust between your body and your brain. When that trust returns, stiffness loosens its grip, and pain no longer needs to dominate every movement you make. Many people assume that ongoing back pain means their core is weak, But strength is rarely the missing piece. More often, the issue is timing and coordination. Deep muscles that support the spine are designed to turn on automatically, just before you move. When pain has been present for a long time, the brain alters this system. These stabilizing muscles become delayed or silent, and the body relies on larger, more superficial muscles to create a sense of safety. That strategy works temporarily, but it comes at a cost. Movement becomes stiff, inefficient, and exhausting. One of the most important stabilizers of the spine lies deep beneath the surface, close to the bones of the back. It is not a muscle you can easily feel or flex on command. Its job is to provide subtle, continuous support that keeps the spine aligned during movement. When this muscle stops firing properly, the spine loses its internal support system. The body responds by tightening everything around it. Pain often follows, not because of damage, but because the system feels unstable. The controlled hovering movement addresses this problem directly. It challenges the body to stabilize without bracing. By lifting slowly and holding with precision, the nervous system is forced to re-engage the correct muscles at the right time. There is no momentum to hide behind. Every second of the hold provides clear feedback to the brain. This is not about how long you can hold the position, but about how well you can maintain control while breathing normally. As this coordination improves, movement quality changes. The spine begins to feel supported from the inside, rather than held together by tension. Daily tasks like reaching, turning, or walking become smoother. The body no longer needs to overprotect because it senses stability where it matters most. This shift often leads to a reduction in pain, not because muscles are stronger, but because the system is working as intended again. There is another important benefit that often goes unnoticed. These deep stabilizers play a key role in balance and fall prevention. As people age, the loss of reflexive stability increases the risk of missteps and falls. Reawakening these muscles improves your ability to respond quickly and efficiently to changes in position. This is not training for aesthetics or performance. It is training for confidence and independence. The progress from this movement carries over into everything else you do. Walking feels more grounded. Standing up feels more controlled. Even posture improves without conscious effort. When the body regains its internal stability, it stops asking for constant attention. Pain no longer dominates your awareness. Instead, movement begins to feel natural again. This is the foundation of long-term improvement, not through force or fatigue, but through precision, awareness, and trust in your body's ability to support itself. The final piece of this approach shifts attention away from the spine itself and toward the hips, an area that quietly determines how much stress the lower back absorbs each day. When the hips move well and remain stable, the spine can do its job without strain. When they do not, the lower back is forced to compensate with every step, turn, and transition. This compensation often happens slowly, without pain at first, until one day discomfort becomes part of everyday life. Many people over 50 lose strength and control in the muscles on the outside of the hips. These muscles help keep the pelvis level when you walk, climb stairs, or stand on one leg. When they are not doing their job, the pelvis tilts slightly with each step. That small tilt may not be noticeable, but it sends repeated stress into the lower spine. Over time, that stress adds up. Addressing the hips is not optional if long-term back comfort is the goal. The controlled circular movement challenges balance, coordination, and awareness all at once. By standing on one leg and moving the other slowly through space, the body is forced to organize itself efficiently. The foot, knee, hip, and spine must work together to maintain alignment. This type of movement trains your internal sense of position, helping the brain understand where your body is and how it is moving. When that sense improves, unnecessary tension fades. This has implications beyond pain relief. Balance and stability are directly tied to independence. As people age, a loss of balance is often the first sign that confidence in movement is fading. Falls are not just physical events. They change how people move afterward, often leading to fear, hesitation, and further decline. Training balance in a controlled, intentional way helps protect against that downward spiral. What makes this movement especially valuable is its simplicity. It requires no equipment, no speed, and no force. Yet it delivers powerful input to the nervous system. The body learns to stabilize from the ground up. The pelvis stays level. The spine stays neutral. Movement becomes smoother and less effortful. Over time, walking feels more natural and standing feels more secure. The broader message is important to remember. Your body is not fragile. It is adaptable. The discomfort you feel is not a verdict. It is feedback. When you respond with thoughtful, consistent movement, the body responds in return. Progress does not come from chasing intensity or perfection. It comes from showing up regularly and moving with awareness. When you focus on control instead of pain, confidence begins to replace fear. Each small improvement reinforces the next. You begin to trust your body again, and that trust opens the door to lasting change. This is how relief becomes sustainable, not as a temporary fix, but as a new way of moving through your life with stability, confidence, and ease.